Okay, so this is a new walk with me thing. Um, Essentially, what I want to cover is like this dependency on just a lack of curiosity. I think it's really going to hurt some people long term. Not in a bad way. It's just like there's so many people that we're helping that are looking at this thing and going, okay, if we if we're using like Bolt or Claude Code or especially like Bolt Lovable Replit, people are using that as a way to shortcut some things. And the things that they're shortcutting are like meaningful in the sense that, you need those extra pieces. At least I think you need those extra pieces to be able to develop like full products. You need to like understand a little bit of front end, a little bit of back end, but not crazy, just like enough to be like dangerous isn't the right word, but you actually need it enough to be able to see the vision of what you want to build and also have the chops to be able to build it. So when people are making these calls where they're just saying like, hey, I want to do this thing, but Lovable can't do it, or they're actually attaching like the product strategy to the capabilities of the product itself, or the platform itself. So if Bolt can't do complex API calls and then tie them together, they stop there and they say, okay, I'm only going to build my product for as good as Bolt can do. And I think that's shortchanging some of these people with a lot of ideas. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to shift kind of the strategy of the channel is really to start to expand based on not just what one platform can do, but start to explore how to build things that's exactly how we dream of them, or exactly how we strategize them, if that makes sense. And so if we strategize something to be able to call like OpenAI API, Mistral's top of the market OCR, and then Google Vision, and then pull that all into an 11 Labs audio story. Like we need to be able to tap into each piece of that and orchestrate them in a specific pattern. And yes, you can use a tool like LangChain, but you'll need to know how to deploy cloud for that or backend for that. But you also can build those things in order so that they're orchestrated together. So in order to do that, you would build like agents or at least API calls for each one of the apps that I just mentioned, but then you would build like an orchestration service to know when to call them and also what order to call them in so that they can work off of each other. And I think sometimes when we're moving fast or we're trying to ship things that are interesting to us, we kind of shortcut the curiosity phase. And to me, that curiosity phase is what makes things so powerful, because you start to learn, you start to open the aperture of what problems your solutions can solve. And also, even if you keep the scope down in terms of the problem that you're working to solve, you can increase the value of the solution by being able to solve it in a more meaningful way to your customers. And then in addition to that, you can also build your things out more modularly. I found that it is much easier to improve my product when I break them into components on the back and front end. So for instance, I was building something with using OpenAI calls, and it was essentially like using all of the functions all in a row. So it was all in the same file. It was just like OpenAI .ts or something, or TSX. And what I found is that when I split them out into separate handlings, so it would be like OpenAI underscore agent1 ts.ts, the other one would be OpenAI underscore agent2.ts. Well, when I can have both of those things separate, it's so much easier to change the prompting. It's so much easier to change the knowledge base. It's so much easier to change the models that it's working with. It's so easy to change the orchestration. So then when I go to like a service,
to call each one of those two agents in order. I can actually change the order depending on the flow of what the user is doing within my application. So sometimes I can go agent 1 to agent 2, other times I can go agent 2 to agent 1. And I think that all came from, even the knowledge to even know what was possible, it all came from learning and experimenting and challenging myself to learn more and stay curious about what all of these coding and agentic project and product development software platforms can do for you, but also what you can do with it. And so all the time I'm trying to push things. You saw in the most recent video for Emily, I went in and created a custom demo platform. Well, if I can create it once, well, now I'm going to take all those components, and now every tool that we roll out is going to have a custom demo platform, or a custom demo application. Because in reality, when I was building Emily, I realized I wanted people. I think it was ChatGPT pulled in a free 14-day trial, and I was like, I don't have money to front people 14 days for them to cancel. So what I need them to do is to get the feel for the product, get the feel for what can be done within the product without giving them 14 days for free. Because 14 days for free, they can run up $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 bills, and I can't afford that. And I'm definitely not going to raise funding for that. And so what I need to do is build something that will give them the look and feel and the functionality for the product without actually giving them the product. So that way when they sign up, they're paying on day one because they've already had experience with the product. And I think that's how I'm going to do it. Unless we raise funding for something, I think that's how I'm going to do it for every product. I think each one is probably going to have some form or way to demo it without giving people free access. Another thing that I did was make it so that they only got to demo it for 10 minutes. So there's a counter in the background that will lock the demo after 10 minutes. And it'll basically say if you want to continue, put in your email address or your phone number, and then we'll follow up to give you, to set you up an account with Emily. So all of these things are so important because I didn't even know that it was possible to do it that way until I was able to check in with the back end, the front end, until I had worked with Claude enough to be confident in how it could work, until I had worked with GitHub enough to be confident in how it could work. If you look at my GitHub, not the stars, but I think it tracks PRs. I think it's PRs. I don't think it's merges. I've had a GitHub account since 2018. You'll see if you look through all of the PRs on that little grid that has the green and white squares, you'll see it's been blank since 2018, and then in this year, at about April, it starts lighting up green because I'm basically coding all day, every day. And that all comes from curiosity. And I think sometimes when we have tools that can get us 40, 50, 60, 70% of the way, we stop short and say that that's good enough. I think that's why you have a lot of platforms and tools on Bolt that are built on Bolt. They're a little bit rudimentary. They might be able to sell things. They might be able to make money from that rudimentary state. However, when a product that is scoped the exact same way, but someone has developed ways to be curious and to build better product improvements at the same price point as you're offering with those rudimentary solves, you're going to get blown out of the water. They're just going to take your customers for free. And I think that is really powerful because the more and more that you lean on Bolt or Replit or some of these other tools to kind of do everything for you without you checking in, without you doing product improvements, learning how to iterate, learning how to incorporate other API calls, learning how to build your own APIs so that you can call other products, which we are now doing. In Emily, we are calling a Double Me API that we built in Double Me so that you can now use your doubles without exposing anything about Double Me. You can just use your doubles in other products. And I think that's going to be powerful because we're now going to integrate a double into every product that we launch, which will save us on sales and customer service and all this other stuff. And so, you know, you have this understanding. I didn't even know that was possible. I just figured it out 2 days ago that I was able to do that. And I think that all comes from just being curious. And so that's what I would encourage everyone to do. And then with that, I'm going to keep walking back. I wonder if there's anyone night swimming right now. I think the pool closed at 9. There's people at the gym, which I should have done today, but the kid was sick. So I think that's like something for you all, anyone who's watching this, to kind of like lean into. Is like staying curious is going to be probably one of the biggest indicators of winners and losers in this world where we're essentially in a gold mine or a gold rush, right? When any product can be built at any time for a low amount of cost, you're essentially shooting for design, taste, strategy, and distro. Well, design, taste, and strategy mostly come from being curious. Like, you might have intuition, but you just really need to be curious. So hopefully this all helps. If it doesn't, maybe the next video, I have like 150 more, so maybe some of those will help too. See ya.